Hello and welcome to the Live Action Remorse podcast, the worst podcast in the world. And today we are covering The Jungle Book. We are specifically the original 1960s Jungle Book. It's direct. Well, I assumed it was direct to DVD sequel, but it actually came out theatrically. And Jon Favreau's live action remake, which is still somewhat of an adaptation of the book. In this case, I actually didn't get around to reading the original materials, so for this episode, that honor went to Nikki.
Me, I did it.
You did it.
I did a little bit of it.
You did a little bit of it. You only read the particularly pertinent materials, the first two stories in the overall Jungle Book.
Yes, I read the first two. Okay, so the Jungle Book is a collection of short stories. Yeah, it's a Rudyard Kipling. It's a collection of short stories, all in the same jungle. Only the first three stories out of like 8 are about Mowgli. And there is a sequel which has more stories about Mowgli. And I think some of these take from the sequel, but I didn't want to do all that.
Yeah, no, I wasn't even aware of that until you just said
there
it.
Is the second Jungle Book. I read the first 2 stories. I didn't read the third one because it seemed like the movie wasn't really taking anything from it. But yeah, I read a little bit of the book. It's from like 1860 something, or it's 1894. So
yes,
it was an interesting read. It was less racist than I expected. Being written by a British man about colonial India. But it's probably just because there aren't a lot of humans in it. That there's just Mowgli. You can read into stuff with the monkeys, which you can also do with the Disney movie. Read into that, but there's plausible deniability and all that. Ooby doo, and yeah, I read the book, and I don't think it was super useful because the all 3 movies are very, very different.
It seemed like they were very loose in this
all
case.
The characters are very different. All the movies obviously aren't a collection of short stories. They have one through-line narrative.
Which is kind of surprising looking back. That feels like something they would have done if the movie had been made earlier and Walt Disney was like around working on them.
Maybe they could have made like a Jungle Book Disney Channel show with different stories each week. Well, they made Tailspin, but that doesn't really count.
I never watched Tailspin. I don't think I watched House of Mouse.
Tailspin is about Baloo, and he's a pilot that delivers packages. And
Baloo as what? I'm confused. What does that have to do
with? I don't
the Jungle Book? It doesn't seem to have anything to do with the Jungle Book. I assume Tailspin was like a big mashup, like House of Mouse.
No, Tailspin is it's Baloo. And apparently Louie and Shere Khan are also in there. It's not really
interesting
based on the movie in anything like meaningful way, but it is about Baloo in a plane.
The looseness of adaptation gets increasingly detached from the source material as we go forward.
In the series finale, he delivers a bomb to an evil nation, and he has to try and stop them from committing war crimes. That's true.
I thought... No, this is a bit, right?
No, it's true. They pulled the episode, and they never reran it.
What the fuck?
Well, they
What
reran
the
it once by
hell?
mistake. Okay, now we gotta go on this side tangent because I heard about this morning.
Okay, okay. Oh, this morning. Oh God.
Series finale, Baloo is asked to deliver a package, which is actually a bomb, to the Fembrian High Marshal. Meanwhile, Colonel Spigot is instructed to fly a plane but does not know how, and Baloo offers to teach him if he will complete the delivery for him.
Huh.
Note, this episode was only shown
Okay.
once before it was banned from the lineup, most likely due to its terrorist theme. The only time it aired was in 1999 on Toon Disney, which was most likely a mistake. It was also not included in streaming releases such as Disney Plus, but was released on iTunes.
Okay. Sure. Fine. Yeah, absolutely.
This is what Rudyard Kipling always intended for his characters.
He always wanted Mowgli to accidentally bomb a foreign
No,
nation.
this is just Baloo. Mowgli had nothing to do with it.
Baloo. Oh, just Baloo. Oh, Baloo. I don't understand the the connection here. There is none. There's no connection. What the
They were
fuck?
just doing anything. It was the 90s.
They were It was the 90s. It's always something when Disney is just doing anything. Before we move on, I just received word, like literally, like 15 minutes ago, regarding last time we recorded an episode. We talked about how well that Lilo and Stitch was doing in the theater, and in the interim, a sequel to the remake has been greenlit. And not
Yes.
only did the sequel get greenlit, it is being written by Chris Sanders this time.
Huh.
Chris Sanders is now writing the sequel to the remake. On one hand, I guess get the money, Chris. I don't I'm not going to be mad about that, but also like what are we doing? And I got to wonder if part of this has to do with the fact that there was a fundamental thematic through line that was shot in the femoral artery by some of the decisions that were made for the first remake, like for the first movie in these Lilo and Stitch remakes.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if
So
that sequel starts out with
mhm.
like just immediately and then Nani came back to Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not, just color me unsurprised by this whole deal. Um, Welcome back, Chris. I guess I don't think there's been any more news about any Disney live action remakes. I think they're kind of taking it slow right now because they greenlit a shit ton of these and then didn't end up making a lot of them. So I think they're taking it step by step right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully those steps, those step by step steps end up stepping into, stepping off a cliff and not doing them anymore. But this is the current state of things. But back to the Jungle Book.
Yes. I want to go into
Um,
the plot of the short stories a little bit just cuz it's interesting to see what like snippets they take from it. Um
yes, yes.
the first story is interesting because it starts with Mowgli getting adopted by the wolves and ends with him leaving the jungle for good. And then the second story is a midquel.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, it's a midquel.
yes, the second story is a
Ahead of his
flashback to
time.
in the time skip of the first story.
I see.
Um,
He's really a real visionary ahead of his time, but only in this regard
yes.
and no other regards.
Uh,
Pay
so
no attention to the racism behind the curtain.
there is a family traveling through the jungle,
Mm-hmm.
and the evil tiger
Mm-hmm.
Shere Khan attacks them, or it might just
Khan.
be the father and his son. But then the son runs off and hides in a little wolf cave, and he gets adopted by the wolves.
Okay.
And Shere
Mm-hmm.
Khan comes and he's like, "I'm gonna eat you," but he can't fit into the wolf cave because his head is too big. And
Sounds about right.
So then they say, well, if we make him
likely thing for it
officially
to
a
happen.
wolf in our, law of the jungle, then he can't attack him. And so they go to their big wolf meetup, and he needs like two people to sponsor him to become a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think it might be free, but then like the main old leader says, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then Baloo, who is not a wolf but has an honorary vote because he helps raise wolves, and teaches them the law of the jungle. He gets a vote, and he vouches for Mowgli. And there's also
Yes.
Bagheera, who I forget his fucking relation to the wolves, but also supports him because he understands man better because he is a former circus animal. And
Interesting.
yeah, that's something none of them
That's
adapt, which I'm
interesting.
surprised because I thought that was an interesting
Yeah, me
aspect
too.
of Bagheera. And
Yeah.
so many years later, Mowgli has been taught very well in the law of the jungle. And, he
Mm-hmm.
knows how to communicate with all the different animals. He's very, very smart. But Shere Khan has started turning wolves against him. And the
Mm.
old wolf pack leader is going to die soon. Or he's going to become too weak. Well, if he becomes too weak to hunt, then they just kill him, right? And they get
Right,
a
right.
new leader. And so that
Oh
looks like it's
boy.
going to happen. And Shere Khan has manipulated the young wolves in the time since to turn against Mowgli. So then Mowgli goes off to the man village, gets the red flower, which is fire, and comes and fights Shere Khan with it and chases him away. However, since he has been outcast by so many wolves, and by using the fire, he has shown he is a man, he has to leave the jungle. And he goes back and lives in the man village. And
Damn.
yeah, it's kind of a bittersweet ending. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
and then the second story is Kaa's hunting, which is not really about Kaa, even though he's an important part of the movie. And this is where Mowgli
Yes.
gets kidnapped by monkeys. Because he goes and talks to the monkeys, and the
Monkey.
monkeys are like, "We're gonna make you our king." And then he goes to Baloo, and he's like, "I like the monkeys." And Baloo's like, "No, the monkeys suck, you idiot. The monkeys keep saying they're gonna do things, and then they get bored, and they never do it because they're stupid. And they say they're gonna have democracy, but then they're stupid, and they never do it because they forget, and they get bored, and they move on to the next thing, and they're violent
Hmm.
and evil." And
Hmm.
so then the monkeys kidnap him,
I.
and Baloo and Bagheera get Kaa because he's a python, and that's like one of the only animals that the monkeys are scared of. So they go and rescue uh, fucking Mowgli, and there is a little bit of hypnotism. Kaa does hypnotize the monkeys to dance, and
Hmm.
Mowgli. It's interesting. This is actually something that's completely different from the movies. Mowgli is actually the only one immune to the hypnotism. He has to get Baloo and Bagheera to look away. And
That's interesting.
yeah, it's interesting that like Kaa is not a bad guy in the book. He's a good guy. And that's completely changed. And if you've seen any of the movies, I think you can see like the bits and pieces they pluck from these, but none of the
Mm-hmm.
stories are really told in the same way, you know?
Yeah, it seems to be the case. Yeah.
Like I've seen some people say, "Oh, the 2016 remake is, like the old 60s version with more of the book elements." And I watched it and I'm like, "Not really." You know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah. Like it seems to integrate some of what you're saying, but only in like a really passive sense.
yeah. The law of the jungle
Like
is
not
mentioned
in.
more, but the actual
Yeah,
plot
exactly.
is maybe even further away from the book.
It does kind of sound like I'll double back to this because it's when we start tackling the remake proper. But it does sound like at least one element inspired a plot element in the remake, but it's not quite a direct adaptation.
No. I I'd say the biggest difference between the book and all the Disney versions is just across the board. The animals are much less anthropomorphized. Like they still
Mm-hmm.
talk in the book and they still, have laws and all these things, but there's still a thing where like these animals act like this and these animals act like this. And you
Mm-hmm.
can, bargain with this animal this way. And everyone's a lot more civilized, especially Baloo.
Would you say that there's a degree of essentialism in the book? Because
Yeah,
like I'm not sure if that's what. Yeah, okay. Because that I wasn't sure if I was picking up on something that wasn't there.
no, I think there's a degree of essentialism that, man is this way and animal is this way. And
Yeah, yeah.
specific animals are noble and specific animals are bad.
Furtive, treacherous, even.
Treacherous. And
Um.
it was okay.
Mhm.
It's fine. It's a book from the 1890s. It's a children's book from the 1890s. No, I can only get so much enjoyment from it.
See, I have tended to read older children's books and enjoyed them. I just didn't think I would enjoy that one specifically. I didn't think I would get much out of it.
It's not a fairy tale. That's the difference between this and, the previous two. There's also Alice, which we didn't read the book for, but it's much
We
more
didn't read the book for because
like
yeah.
that. Um
I think I'll get around to reading the book when we get to the sequel,
mm,
but because I would like to anyways. Jungle Book I just didn't manage to do it. I think I just struggle to muster feeling for the Jungle Book as an entity as a whole.
mhm.
I can't do it. I really can't. And I
I,
know that I should. Mhm.
I don't have anything against it. I don't hate it, but I've never really, been attached to it in any way.
I know that I probably should like at least like holding myself to my own standard. I probably should have been done my due diligence and read at least a little of the thing, but I couldn't. Listeners, I apologize. I couldn't do it. I'm gonna get arrested for the Disney Live Action Remake podcast. It's gonna happen. We're
I
gonna finish recording these, and I'm just gonna get locked up.
can't believe you've done this.
Uh, Deception, disgrace.
Tisk, tisk, tisk. That's what I say. Tisk.
Um, I guess we should get into what happens in the Jungle Book.
Yes.
The movie, I mean.
The Jungle
Yeah.
Book, I think from 1967.
Yes, I believe that's the year.
Was the last animated film Walt Disney worked on himself.
Oh, I assumed he was dead at the time.
Nope. This was his last hurrah.
At least in terms of anime movies. I have seen his last live action production, The Happiest Millionaire.
Oh.
It's not very good.
Was Walt Disney the happiest millionaire?
Maybe.
He has all the
We only
money
know this.
to buy all the
Hmm.
cigarettes in the world.
But he could never buy his one true desire, Kurt Russell. But yeah, no, I wasn't aware that was his last animated production.
So, what did you think of The Jungle Book, 1967?
What did I think? It's there. It's there. It's all there. That's my relationship to the Jungle Book. It's just there.
It is perfectly
And
fine. I will forget about it in a week.
I have no strong feelings one way or the other. I just I've been mildly dreading this episode because I just can't muster the emotion for it, right? It's not about the remake being especially bad. because it's not. It's watchable. It's definitely watchable. I just I can't muster the energy for the Jungle Book as a thing. Um there is an episodic quality
Mm-hmm.
to the movie, to the 67 movie. Um where Mowgli just goes around meeting a bunch of people in like amidst the central conflict of getting him to return to the man village, once he's old enough to go back. And like I don't know if the episodic quality kind of not makes it suffer. Like I honestly feel like they should have gone for a more anthologized approach to the structure and just done full like separate stories.
Mm.
That might have done a lot to sort of hold interest for me, because I'm think despite how short it is, I do get a little, I feel it drags. I do feel it drags, and I don't think Mowgli is interesting enough to support a lot of what's happening here. And I know that, Baloo and Bagheera are kind of more the focal point through which Mowgli is perceived, I guess. But I don't know. I think I'm just not that interested in any of the characters almost. I think it's not operating quite at the register of sort of fable that a lot of Disney stuff does. I don't know. I feel like it's more invested in character work, but those characters are also really thinly drawn. So I'm just I find myself a lot more bored. I don't know if I'm barking up the wrong tree here, but that is how it feels to me.
I'll say it felt more like a movie than the previous ones that we've watched. I felt there was, a through line. There was at least a character arc, which I don't know if we've seen in any
Yeah.
of these yet. There was a coming of age for Mowgli, but I feel like that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah, yeah.
makes it feel more awkward with how episodic it is, because it is really there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
through line, but it's loose. They tell him he has to leave the
It's
jungle,
really thin.
and then they take him out of the jungle, and then in between it's just, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, which is like
You can
fine,
get away with that.
but I
You can
think
get
you have
away
to.
with that in Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, they do that in Alice in Wonderland, but I think here you need to commit more in one direction. I don't mind it in Alice in
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderland because there's no character arc in Alice in Wonderland. In the Jungle Book, I'm like, Mowgli, you gotta keep moving. What are you doing?
It's just a very meandering, thinly drawn arc surrounded by very thinly drawn characters that feel like they belong in a more parable style uh, design, like overarching design, I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me. I mean, it's still beautifully animated, and Disney's struggling at this point financially, and they're having to reuse animations from, like I'm aware that they reused animations from Robin Hood for this one,
No, you got it
and it's
reversed.
just like,
They
oh, I
reused
got it
animations
reversed.
from this in Robin Hood.
Oh, okay, okay. Still, I know that they were struggling financially, like in the movie division during the 60s at large,
Mhm.
and then Disney died, and it's like, you know it's still beautifully animated. It's still, I think it's one of those things where the strongest sense of character is coming from the aesthetic engagement. It is coming from the animation. you know I was very fond of how the monkeys were animated in particular. That like I think everything about it on paper seems like it should be more fun than it is. You know, when you see it just kind of as a full piece, it just sort of feels like something got lost in translation. I'm just not the happiest with this movie. And talking about it, like, I don't know, it's probably my least favorite out of the animated Disney movies that we've watched for this podcast so far.
You liked it less than Cinderella?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Cinderella, I mean, I know that it's bland, but its heights are tremendous. You know, in the case of the Jungle Book, I think its heights are just pretty okay. And there's less of them. There's less of those heights to some extent than Cinderella. So, you know, it feels, I think it's a movie that just feels very lost. I think it just feels lost and kind of troubled. I don't know how troubled the production is, but it feels troubled to me. I'm unsure if I'm misdirected in some way here. I just feel it feels like a tired movie in some capacity. Like they're just kind of trying to keep the wheels spinning to some degree. And it's just like, again, I don't know on the production end how much that was the case, but it feels like that on a narrative level to some degree. Like, just keep the wheel spinning, just keep moving, just don't stop, because you're like a shark and you're gonna die if you stop. It sort of feels like that to me.
Yeah. I will be a cynic and say that I thought the animation was kind of below the standard I expect of Disney. It's not
Yeah,
ugly.
that's understandable.
I won't say it's
No,
ugly,
no.
but you know, this is kind of like the scratchy era. You also see in, you know, you mentioned Robin Hood,
Yes, yeah.
Aristocats, 101 Dalmatians, and I think it looks good in some of those. I think it looks good in Dalmatians, but I don't think it really fits
Right,
that
right.
well here. Um, there are
Not quite.
moments which are very well animated, but overall is for me. Yeah, you said a lot of my thoughts there. It's just it's boring. It's lost. It's I think there are some
It's
structural
lost.
changes you could make
It's
to make it more
boring.
enjoyable.
I think my big feeling genuinely is that it's almost kind of sad. Like there's something sad to it. Like not in a metatextual way. I think it just feels like a studio that's kind of struggling to work under conditions that, you know, like they were the big dog, and now they're just like, it does feel like the movie is a bit lost with regards to its own
Yeah.
identity, and it feels like the movie doesn't know what its own appeal should be. It's just sad to me, and I don't like saying that. I really don't.
It was. I'm curious what that production was like. They were like, why does Walt keep coughing up blood?
Just like the opening of Bohemian Rhapsody, Walt Disney wakes up in the morning and just
Feel
coughs.
one thing I will give this movie. The songs are very good. We haven't really been able to say that about the previous ones. Here, the songs are really, really good.
Yeah,
Obito, I wanna be like. I will not continue
yeah.
this lyric due to
Whoopie doo.
copyright, but you can imagine it's very good.
Yeah, yeah. The songs are good. They're lovely.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you about. What do you think of Ka?
What do you mean? What do I think of
What do you think
Ka?
of the character of Ka the snake? Do you like him? Do you like him a bit too much? Do you dislike him? Does he scare you?
I want to make it clear for the listeners that I don't have any any feelings that strong about Ka. Um, from my mom who listens to this podcast, I am so sorry because you probably don't know what the fuck we're talking about right now. Oh. Do we? No.
I won't say much
Mm-hmm.
because your mother listens to
Yes,
this
yes.
podcast. I will say there were a lot of people who watched this movie as a kid and were
Yes.
very affected by the scenes of Ka hypnotizing people when he
And starts
wraps around
singing
you in
Trust
his
in Me,
coils and makes you look
which
into
is
his
probably my
eyes.
favorite song.
And yeah, there's no basis for that in the book really.
Oh
So there was just
god.
someone
Oh
on staff who
god.
was a little freaky.
Oh. Oh. Like the eyes. The eyes in both cases regarding Ka. Um he is voiced by both actors who were voicing Winnie the Pooh at the time. So that I feel like that's worth the aside to note.
Yes, that is neat. When are they gonna make Scarlett Johansson Winnie the Pooh?
I tried to come up with a joke
So,
regarding Scarlett Johansson, but
anyways,
I can't find it. I can't find
the
it.
Jungle Book.
I think they should have Scarlett Johansson play a snake woman in a live action movie.
We should. We should just have more snake women in live action movies.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever seen the
Exactly,
movie?
you get it.
We watched it.
Oh, we watched that movie together.
Now I want to
yeah.
clarify. The audio didn't glitch there. The movie is titled SSSSS, and it's about
Yeah.
a man who gets turned into a snake.
Yeah.
It wasn't very good. There wasn't enough snake in it.
No.
There was way more man than there was snake.
There was way more man than there was snake, and when you get, like, you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be a snake monster picture, of course, you know? It's called, you know? But no, he just turns into a normal-ass snake.
Yeah, and it's weird because they made, like, a snake suit and makeup, but he's only in it for, like, 1 minute, and then he turns into a normal snake.
I'm not even sure if he's like the snake suit that was for the other guy, because there's another guy who got transformed into a partial snake man, which means that the main guy who gets turned into a snake doesn't even get turned into a snake man at any point.
That's fucked up.
That makes it worse. That's stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid. Give me my snake man. I want to see him rampage. I want to see him bite people. This isn't a fetish thing.
Sure.
Shut up. I just wanted to see a rampaging monster. Can a girl just want to see a rampaging monster?
Yeah, nice and slippery.
It's like Marvin the Martian. Where's my earth?
Slippery snake man.
Mom, I'm so sorry. Slytherin snake.
Snake.
I had to say it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Fuck you.
Anyways, there was
we've gone way off
there
track.
was so much Ka fan art that they put the Jungle Book 2 into production, and that came out in like 2003, I think. And
yeah, 2003.
it came out in theaters. It was part of the like line of Toon Disney direct-to-DVD sequels, but it had a theatrical release. I can't imagine a huge one. Maybe it was just a slow year for Disney.
Probably, I can see that.
But
sometimes you just need something to fill the slot.
yeah, this is how I guess we could have talked about fucking Tailspin as revitalizing the brand, but I don't want to watch all that, so let's just talk about the Jungle Book 2.
I'm not doing that for any reason other than my own curiosity. I don't want to watch that for a project. This is already not going to be very fun.
No, we need to watch all 65 episodes of Tailspin, including the banned one, or we're not. We haven't done our research.
We haven't done our due diligence. Like genuinely, this conversation has had me wondering: are we watching all of the Stitch show?
No.
Okay.
There are.
Because the Stitch show's not bad, is the
There's
thing.
there's 4 different Stitch movies. Well, I guess now there's 5 different Stitch movies. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's the original. Then there's like basically the pilot to the show, which is a movie, and then there's the actual sequel to the original, and then there's another movie which is basically the finale to the show. And we will watch all of the movies. And that's it.
I think it firmly helps that you know, like, at least I'm pretty sure Chris Sanders was involved all the way through, right?
I think so.
Like,
at the very least, he was voicing Stitch all the way.
Yeah, he voiced Stitch all the way through. He is Stitch. He's like, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I want to be clear. There was a brief period. Like, I heard Zach Galifianakis was going to be in the Stitch movie, and I thought, oh, dear Christ, is he voicing Stitch? But no, it was they were always going to get Chris Sanders
I do want to
so
clarify that because of the weird sequel rollout, the movie entitled Lilo and Stitch 2 is in fact the third Lilo and Stitch film.
Life is weird.
Life is weird. But anyways,
film distribution is weird.
We're getting off track because we don't want to talk about the Jungle Book 2.
We don't want... When are we going to talk about the Jungle Book elephant in the room?
The elephants are the most boring characters.
Hold on 1 second. Oh! I just needed to get out some frustration there. I needed to scream a little bit.
Anyways, the Jungle Book 2, starring Sora.
Okay.
John Goodman.
I want to talk about that real quick because it's relevant. We started watching this movie and we hear Haley Joel Osment, little Haley Joel Osment, like what, 2 years out from Sixth Sense? No, not 2 years. Like 3 years? 3 or 4 years out.
I think it was like late 1999, that movie.
Yeah. And then AI Artificial Intelligence was 2001. And, you know, like, he's a few years out from both of those. Not the hottest ticket in the world, but everybody still was like, yeah, this kid's got the goods, right? And he's not a bad voice actor, and he'd done Kingdom Hearts a couple of years prior. He's a good voice actor. But the problem is that every time he spoke, all I could hear was Sora from Kingdom Hearts. This was also the case for Nikki, and she's barely played Kingdom Hearts.
I played like 10 hours of Kingdom Hearts 1.
Oh, you played 10 hours?
And I've also seen a lot of like videos about Kingdom Hearts, right?
Right, okay. Right, yeah.
But he is just doing the Sora voice. It's not you know,
just Sora.
Hearing it, he is doing the same voice for Mowgli, which is
Sora.
weird because it's a very white voice. And the original
so
Mowgli
funny.
was a white actor too. But
yeah,
I don't know.
The director's son.
For some reason, it was less noticeable there. Here, he's like, "We gotta get back to the jungle."
I think the thing about the kid's performance in the original the 1967 movie is that he is surprisingly low key. You know, he's not the most enthusiastic kid in the world. He's just kind of a normal kid. And then Haley, like, it's almost like the fact that he was not really an actor is part of what was, like, not great, but interesting about the performance. And then Haley Joel Osment was very much an actor with a few years experience under his belt by the time that he was recording this. So he's very much tackling it like an actor. So that's part of why he's so Like, he's very emotive, and that's not a bad thing to want out of your voice performance, but it's funny compared to the performance in the first movie, which is he was just kind of there. It feels like a thing where his dad asked him, "Hey, do you want to be in a movie?" He's like, "Sure, whatever. I'll be in a movie." So, yeah, all I can really hear is Sora, and it's very distracting throughout the entire movie. It never stops being distracting.
Yeah, it's it's a weird. Even if you don't know who Sora is, I don't think it works. But
No,
if you
no, it
know
doesn't
Kingdom
really feel like the
Hearts,
same
it is
kid. Mm-hmm.
so distracting.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You swear that he's gonna bust out a fucking keyblade at some point in the movie. It's funny, but I don't I don't know. It's distracting. He's not
So
bad. It's
yeah,
just distracting.
plot of the Jungle Book 2. Uh, there's Baloo, and he's hanging out with Bagheera, and he's like,
They're
"We
gay.
gotta get SpongeBob back." And so he goes back to the man village, and he heroically kidnaps a child,
He
and
kidnaps a child
they go
on
off
his
and have
shoulders.
some fun in the jungle, and they throw Shere Khan to a volcano, and then Mowgli decides to go back to the main village.
You know, when you put it like that, I already knew that the first movie was pretty narratively thin. We barely even described it here. You
Yeah,
know, we just kind of said some stuff happens because if you ask me to remember the order of events, I will struggle. Here's Mowgli. He lives in the jungle. They gotta get him back to the man village. They fight a little bit over this. He sees a girl in the man village and goes to the man village. That's really it. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, there's Shere Khan running around, but the spine of it is just sort of that.
yeah. Like, here's something we talked about. Ka. Ka is in this movie. Can you tell me what Ka does in this movie? What his narrative purpose is?
To get his ass handed to him. His ass gets handed to him.
What
Just
happens to
fully
him?
kicked. He gets his ass kicked.
But he doesn't have an ass.
He gets his shit rocked. It feels like someone who made this movie really fucking hated Ka.
I thought someone who made this movie really loved Ka, but that's a different scene.
Oh yeah, that's a different scene. It's a whole thing.
But
What was it you said?
we don't need to repeat what I said.
Are you sure? Because I thought it was very funny.
You know your mom listens to this podcast.
Well.
Okay, so earlier we were talking about these movies, and I was thinking about like how popular the direct-to-DVD movies was, and I said to Roxy, when we're watching these, we have to keep in mind that there is some boy out there who had this DVD at his grandma's house, and it was the only DVD there, or one of the only DVDs there, so he watched it 200 times in his childhood. And that is true. That is true for all of these direct-to-DVD movies. And it's true for most Disney movies, really. But
Yeah.
there's a scene later where the girl from the Man Village, who is the main character in this,
Yeah.
for $1 million, tell me your personality. She is she's the main character in this, and she goes into the jungle, and she gets hypnotized by Ka, and he wraps around her and does the thing into her eyes, and slithers and talks. It has this specific vocal performance that's like smooth and I don't want to say sensual because it's a Disney movie, but I don't know the word. And I said, remember that little boy I talked about who watched this movie 200 times? He's a girl now.
Thank you for sharing.
And that's what I said. And that's the context.
God damn it. Look, we're not gonna have a lot to say about Jungle Book. We gotta stretch it a little bit. Oh shit.
What else is in this movie?
A little kid who's annoying.
Yeah, but he's not in it that much, so it's whatever.
It's not even big enough to be a problem. I just didn't like that kid.
Yeah, there's songs in this movie.
I guess. I can't remember any of them.
Osmond can't sing. I remember that.
I already knew this because of Kingdom Hearts 2.
Really, you forgot all the songs in this movie? You forgot my favorite song in this movie?
Okay, now it's my turn. We're sitting there. We get to the end of the movie, and then, Nikki's just like, oh hey, it's Smash Mouth. I want to be like you, and I'm like, what? And it's kind of like that moment when you're about to get punched in the face, but you don't actually like try to defend yourself. You just kind of stand there like this is gonna suck. That's kind of what happened because she said that, and immediately I hear Smash Mouth's cover of "I Want to Be Like You," and it just fucking clotheslined my entire soul. I hated this. I hated it. I don't know. I don't get it.
If you have the time, go look up Smash Mouth, I Want to Be Like You. You're in for a treat.
A treat? What is in that treat, you might ask?
Razor blades.
Razor blades. It's Halloween, baby. They're gonna remake Halloween Town.
Ooh.
Well, no, things start getting desperate when they start remaking Disney Channel original movies.
What else do I want to talk about? Oh, there's a third act misunderstanding in this movie. The best trope in any movie.
I get so tired. Every time. It's like, this is an aside that I just want to note generally about like movies at large, like when it concerns like Hollywood movies and American movies. You get so acquainted with these tropes that you now have anxiety they are going to appear anywhere, right? Just anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was watching a movie with my mom and sister. I don't want to say the name of the movie, and because it might constitute kind of a spoiler, but something bad happens, and one of the characters goes home alone after it happens, and my mom's like, is she gonna kill herself? And like, I knew, I'm so tired of certain tropes happening over and over again, but like, it was such a relief when I was watching this movie because I was like, no, that would be too contrived for the type of movie we're watching, because I trusted in the movie that I was watching and I trusted in the director I was watching. And it really is just such a weight off your shoulders when you don't have to contend with these fucking tropes over and over again. And like, it's not like I cared that much in this case because it's the Jungle Book 2. I'm not invested in the narrative or the characters very much because it's the Jungle Book 2. But even when a movie you don't like does it, you still get a little pissed off. because you're like, oh, wait, I can explain. I've heard the words "wait, I can explain" too often. I don't want to hear them anymore. And then she's like, don't even bother. And it's like, I know we as human beings have trouble with communication. I know it. I've been there. I've been there many times. Many a time. And I'm still exhausted. It's because it doesn't feel like ever. It never feels like an authentic misunderstanding that comes about as a result of people not speaking or people being unable to communicate properly. It's always just the most contrived thing possible to manufacture third act conflict. And what happens if you take that misunderstanding out of this movie? Nothing. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't affect anything to take this out. So why is it in here? Because there's like, it starts to feel like there's an obligation on some people's parts when they're working in certain genres or certain mediums or working for certain production studios, that they have to contrive a reason for these third act conflicts to happen. This is just a general statement about like Hollywood movies and American movies at large, and I get really tired of it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to express that.
There's a very good joke in Community that you just reminded me of, where the female members of the group realize that Abed has been tracking their periods, and they like they throw down the book, and he's like, "Wait, I can explain." And then there's like a beat of them staring at him, and he's like, "Okay, I thought you were going to interrupt me. I can actually explain."
That's how it feels. Now, why he's tracking periods, that's a little scary, but I'm not going to get into that because this isn't a Community podcast.
Okay, sidetrack to the Community podcast for a short second. He's like, okay, I can actually explain. I noticed that I have trouble with people, and I have trouble with you guys more often. And then I noticed that it was only happening on certain days. And then I started tracking that, and then I noticed there was a pattern. And by the time I realized what I was actually tracking, it started yielding good results.
Interesting.
It's a very good episode.
I bet. All right, back to
the Jungle Book 2.
Back to the Jungle Book. I find it. This has had is this the most asides we've had that have nothing to do with the with the thing we're supposed to be talking about?
One vibe I got from this movie, which I can't prove, but I'm pretty confident in being true, is there was like a mandate of what characters had to appear in this. Because you get, obviously Baloo and Bagheera and Shere Khan, they're like important to the plot, right? But you also get the elephants and Kaa and the monkeys and the vultures, and I feel like all of them could be written out, but there was a mandate that, all the recognizable characters have to come back because this is the Jungle Book 2. And it kind of felt even more like, we talk about the original being like, and then this happened. This felt like, and then we met that character from the original.
Which, somehow became like the standard method of operation for Disney at the present day now. If we were doing a, I don't know. No, yeah, if we were doing a podcast about other Disney, if we were doing just like larger Disney trends as a whole, we would be talking about that basically endlessly. But we're focused on this one trend.
It's
real rough.
I'll give this movie this, other than Haley Joel Osment, there's a pretty good voice cast here. There's John Goodman as Baloo, who does not sound anything like the original Baloo, but it still really works because he has the spirit and the energy of it. Which is, you mentioned in the remake that important. You would have preferred they just got John Goodman again, and I think I agree with you.
No, yeah, it's not even that Bill Murray's bad. I mean, I understand more in the context of some of the decisions that they made, which we'll get into in a bit. But yeah, overall, I probably would have preferred getting John Goodman back because he was good. He's good Baloo.
Yes, there is also Tony J as Shere Khan. He is amazing. He might be better than the original.
He's having a lot of fun in there.
Yeah, he's having a lot of fun. And then there's Phil Collins playing an original character, Lucky the Vulture.
I was gonna mention Phil Collins when you mentioned the vultures before.
Phil Collins.
You can feel him coming in the air tonight because he's a vulture and he flies.
Dooba doo 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 doo. Ooby da doo doo.
It was when I when like when we were in the middle of the movie, Nikki took like she had to go for a second, and when she came back I just had the drum fill ready to play when she came back.
I don't know why
Man.
Phil Collins is in this movie. He seems like he's having fun. I don't have all the answers.
We don't have all the answers, and we didn't have enough interest in the Jungle Book to really get deep tissue into the production level on this one.
Yeah, I'm realizing now I could have Googled it at any time in the last 4 days, but I didn't because I don't really care.
I think I don't really care really sums up the vibe here. And even when we finished the remake, I just straight up said to her, I'm glad we're done with this chapter of watching Jungle Book movies. I'm glad there aren't more. I don't like this. I don't like this part. I want to be finished. I want to move on to whichever one is next. I can't remember which one's next.
I think next is Pete's Dragon,
which is the remake is a good movie. I have never seen the prior movie. I know that one is also a live action animated movie, so we're diverging a little bit. I think it counts under the overall trend, especially considering that David Lowery ends up doing Peter Pan, because off the back of this. But
Okay, I'm wrong. The
really
next is Alice Through the Looking Glass, and then Pete's Dragon.
Okay. I'm gonna have to do some reading.
Yes,
it's fine. We'll get in there.
I have something planned for that episode that I'm very excited about.
Oh, Jesus, you didn't tell me anything about this. Oh, God.
I did. You must have forgotten.
Wait, is it the,
No spoiler.
Is it the game?
It's the game.
Oh, okay. Now listeners have a reason to stay tuned for the next episode, because you'll learn what the game is.
The game.
The game. David Fincher's The Game.
David Fincher's The Game. Good movie.
You think David Fincher has ever been asked to make one of these?
Yes, absolutely.
Which Disney live action remake do you think David Fincher would make sense for?
Which would he make sense for?
Yeah, I literally can't think of any.
The Great Mouse Detective.
I've never seen it. I don't know if you're doing a bit. I'm taking your word for it.
Cruella Tuella. If
no,
Gillespie is too busy making Supergirl, you can get David Fincher.
Supergirl. I hope that doesn't kill Tuella. I sit there sometimes when I get reminded of Supergirl, like, oh God, please, this is one of the good ones. Don't take this away from me. I wouldn't be surprised if Emma Stone fought for it and used whatever clout she had to get it done, but What a weird career Emma Stone's shaping up to have.
Yeah, she really took off after she won Best Picture.
Fucking, she's just Emma Stone, one of the chill cis people, because she co-produced I Saw the TV Glow.
Yes.
Uh, I guess
Okay.
we should get to the remake now.
Yes, we don't have to talk about the Jungle Book 2 anymore.
Oh yeah, all right. What did you because you asked me what I thought about the original. What did you think of the remake?
It is fine.
I don't think it's unwatchable, so that's good. And I probably enjoyed it more than the Jungle Book 2, because the Jungle Book 2 is pretty not good.
No.
Um, However, on an aesthetic level, the cracks are beginning to show. The problems are starting to really show up. A lot of the animals don't emote. I don't know why people make this complaint only about the Lion King, like the Jungle Book doesn't also have this problem.
Yes. There are a couple animals which emote a little. I'll give them that.
Like Baloo.
Yeah, Baloo, you
Baloo
get
is probably
some.
the most emotive.
I think Shere Khan had some good emotion.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, even fucking King Louie, which is just Christopher Walken's face stapled on a monkey, didn't really.
Oh, I seeing his face come out of the shadows is a viscerally unsettling moment. You're just kind of like, "Oh, those are Christopher Walken's eyes. Those are
It's
his eyes."
it's interesting in that I went on like Letterboxd, right, and I looked at my friends' reviews, and I have a couple mutuals who were, had Letterboxd accounts old enough that they logged this like when it was in feeders, and it seems like the general reaction at the time was like, "Whoa, look at those graphics!" And I watched
Rich,
this.
those creamy 3D graphics.
Look at those creamy 3D graphics. Um, and I watched this 9 years later, and a lot of it I don't think is aged super well.
In terms of like visual effects, or
Yeah, I think in terms of visual effect, a lot of this looks pretty fake to me.
I think, and it's funny because like I mentioned when we watched it that it won the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Rob Legato, who has been like he's a very um prominent senior visual effects supervisor. He's worked on fucking several of Martin Scorsese's movies, and the Wizard Book adaptation movies. We don't need to talk about it. Like he worked on like two of those, I believe, and like a lot of people were very bowled over. I think I'm pretty firmly split down the middle, wherein in terms of fidelity, there's really impressive stuff here. But in terms of integration, it does wobble very precariously between looking okay and looking like a Spy Kids movie. I want to say
Yeah,
this with all love to the Spy Kids movies.
there
I
are a
have more
lot of
love for the Spy Kids
times
movies.
where Mowgli looks very green screened in. It does not look at all like he
Yeah.
is in the same place as the CG creatures.
Hopping off of that for a moment, I want to throw some props and also some criticism regarding Neil Sethi's performance as Mowgli. because it's not a great performance. It evens out a little bit, but it's not a great performance. But I can't fault him because he was a child acting with nothing. The best he had was some reference puppets from the Jim Henson Company. And you may be thinking, why not just build puppets for the movie? To which I say, I don't know. I don't know. He just wasn't... These aren't good circumstances to be working under for literal Ian McKellen. I don't see why they would be for a kid. He's a kid.
Yeah, it's not a great performance, and I agree with you. You can't really blame the kid. I couldn't have done better at that age.
No,
Let's
me
be
neither.
real.
I couldn't do better when I auditioned for a movie. You know the movie. Others do not know the movie.
Do you know them? And yeah, it's not his fault, but it is still a problem. It's still not good, right?
It's not very good, no.
And I also think, maybe it's more excusable because really the performances in this aren't very good across the board.
No. No. Not at all.
Giancarlo Esposito is in this, and he's very much phoning it in. Ben Kingsley, also another great actor, also sounds like he's phoning it in.
Everybody sounds so eepy.
Idris Elba as Shere Khan is good.
He's Idris
That's
Elba.
the standout, probably.
I mean, I don't hate...
I thought Bill Murray was fine.
I don't hate Scarlett Johansson Ka.
She was fine.
I think...
Christopher Walken Louis.
Ooby-doo.
I don't... Ooby-doo. I want to be like you.
Christopher Walken is funny in this movie because can anybody tell me, anyone who's seen the movie, can anybody tell me why the fuck he's doing King of New York in the middle of The Jungle Book 2016? It is bewildering to me.
He's the king of the jungle.
He's the king of the jungle. Ooby-doo. I wanna be like you. He's having fun, and so I had fun. I'm not gonna lie and say I didn't have fun, but what the fuck is happening here?
It was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was entirely for the reasons they wanted it to be.
I think it's
not like it's not like a great performance. I've seen him act good.
At the end of the day, he's Christopher Walken.
He is Christopher Walken. He can't really go wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those can't turn it off things. He's fun. He's just fun. What the fuck's going on here? I think the thing of most note, because the performances are pretty much mostly a write-off, though Sam Raimi does appear as a squirrel, and he's oddly good. He's not bad. I think Sam Raimi's just a fun presence in general. I enjoy hearing him speak. I've always enjoyed hearing him speak about his movies, and the fact that, that energy kind of carries over is pretty neat. But really, I think the things about the movie that are most interesting are some of the restructurings that they did for the movie, folding in some elements from what you've said about the books, but it's still mostly a remake of the 67 film.
Yeah.
And like I said, we are starting to enter Because Favreau's a real company man, you know? I say this, like, with full neutrality. Like, he's, like, a studio guy. He does the things that the studio asks, like, that the producers ask him to do. And, like, you know, like, you know, you and I don't have a lot of love for the man, right? Because we don't. We've talked about this.
No.
He's a public enemy, kind of. But above all, he's just kind of the studio guy. And he does the thing that's asked of him. And as a result, we're kind of starting to see things take a turn toward decisions that are less coming from, like, individual instinct and impulse, and just sort of more doing the thing that is asked of you because it's the thing they called you in to do. You're not going to see any particularly idiosyncratic, for good or ill, decisions like with Burton's Alice in Wonderland. You're not going to get any particularly wild thematic swings like Maleficent's central allegory. You're not going to get really any of the things that, you know, have at least been of interest. With regards to a lot of these remakes, it's just do the thing, get it in on time, and he did the thing. I think he did the thing is really what I can say about the movie mostly, but there are some interesting structural things, you know, like they make the decision to cut out like, one of the things that happens in the original movie is that Bagheera talks to Baloo and tells him, you know, you have to convince him to go back to the man village. And, you know, they have that conversation, and then Baloo immediately goes to Mowgli and has him, like he tells him you have to go back to the man village. Mowgli gets mad and he leaves. But here, they restructure things a little bit so that you don't see the exchange between Bagheera and Baloo, so that he just kind of comes out to Mowgli kind of out of the blue and tells him, you know, no, I never really liked you anyways, you know, I was just kind of using you. And, you know, I think that might be kind of part of why they cast Bill Murray, because he has a very prickly persona. And so, you know, like he's not like the warmest guy like as a persona. I mean, obviously he isn't in real life, but that's the point. You know, so like they kind of leverage that kind of prickly quality, and make it like they kind of work it into the structure a little bit more, and I appreciate that, even if, like, you know, again, like, I'm not the most invested because it's the Jungle Book. It's the Jungle Book 2016, but, you know, I appreciate the effort. There was the thing that you mentioned about, you know, Mowgli uses fire, so he gets kicked out of the jungle basically from the story, and they kind of toy with that a little bit, where, like, you know, there's the fact that Bagheera really, like, Bagheera and the wolf pack, like, they really don't like Mowgli building the tools that he uses, because that's an interesting thing that I actually appreciate about the movie. Mowgli's just kind of a little engineer, and he builds things so that he can more effectively and efficiently pull from the jungle, and use what it offers him to his own potential as a man, like as a young, like as a kid, as a human. And I you know, like, it feels more like a knowing acknowledgement of the text, where it's like, okay, well, he, you know, like there, I do think that there's a solid bit where, you know, Mowgli goes to fight Shere Khan, and he goes, "I want to fight him like the wolves are," and then Bagheera tells him, don't fight him like a wolf, fight him like a man." And it's just like, no, that's pretty good. I like the structural things. I just wish they congealed into a movie that I was more invested in. Because I don't care. And I don't know if it's on the source material or if it's just the way that the story is told. I think there's just not a lot here sometimes. I feel like they almost have something, but it's not quite there.
If you want to know how engaging this movie is, just know that we ended up talking about Spider-Man for 20 minutes of
We
it.
did. We did. We talked about Spider Man. I don't even know how that happened anymore. I can't remember. I think
Maybe it was Sam Raimi made us start
it
talking
may
about
have been
Spider-Man.
Sam Raimi. It could have, yeah, we just started talking about superhero movie stuff in general, and like Spider Man.
I will say this movie looks okay. You're starting to get a bit of that concrete sludge, but it's not overwhelming. There are still colors, there are still visual choices. There's a palette,
Um,
but you're starting to see
mm-hmm.
it creep in.
At least it looks like Neil Setu was lit. Like they made choices in
Yes.
lighting him to make him look not like an ugly child. And going forward, you're gonna start seeing actors kind of made to look like shit by the lighting. I don't. I mean, we're coming down from a. I think what might honestly be, to my memory, the visual peak of the remakes, because Cinderella looks great and it's so tactile and
Yeah.
everything, and we're starting to move away from tactility and into a sort of wholly digitally constructed space. And I want to go on another one of my sides real quick and say I have no real time or patience for sort of fundamentally anti computer generated effects rhetoric, because there are a lot of people who are like, oh, do more things practically. And I know I said, they should have used puppets, right? I think the movie would have been
Mhm.
served better if they at least integrated some puppetry into the movie. I understand that logistically you can't always do that if you design a scene a certain way. My whole thing, like, I think about, and this isn't because James Gunn is currently in the um, zeitgeist because Superman just came out, but I do think about like someone asking him about effect stuff, and he wasn't like super precious about it. He wasn't sort of like Nolan tends to be, where he kind of plays down the amount of digitally constructed effects and plays up the practical ones. He, like, it was an interview, I can't remember when it was, I think it was around Guardians 3, where he was just like, I just do whatever the shot needs. Whatever effect is best for what the shot needs. And you'd think that's common sense. It's just like, yeah, well, everybody's trying to conceal it every time they use a digital effect in something whenever they're trying to play up the practical effects. They're either doing that or they're doing everything in like through computer generated effects, and it's exhausting.
Mhm.
Both of these directions are exhausting, and I don't perceive this as fundamentally bad. Everything that everybody hates is just a matter of poor design and poor direction, and just kind of not considering what effect a movie or a shot needs at any given time. um I don't hate CGI, and I want to make that really, really, really clear going forward, because we are going to be watching an awful lot of movies with a lot of heavy computer generated visual effects. And I want to make it clear going forward that, like, as we head back into that post Alice in Wonderland, that I don't fucking hate CGI, and people need to be less dogmatic about it, in my opinion. with
Yeah,
all of that said,
I don't I don't think the CGI in this looks
yeah,
amazing, but I think that was part of the restrictions of the time.
yeah, yeah,
It's for I feel like at some point it like looks. And I guess it's the uncanny valley is the word I'm
yeah, yeah,
looking for
yeah,
in some of the animals.
yeah,
Like it just feels weird to me when they talk, right? And like there have been talking dog movies for forever,
like since like the
but
90s.
just like yeah, since the beginning of time, the 90s. And like when I just see like a panther start flapping its mouth and Ben Kingsley voice come out, I'm just like my brain is like that looks wrong.
And part of it is just sort of the overall kind of aesthetic palette that they've allotted themselves, because they've decided we're gonna make this movie, like we're gonna make the nature landscapes look really real, and so the animals have to look really real, and it's like, the Lion King problem, you can see it in the distance, it's getting closer, the Lion King. The problem is still here, and the problems that, like, people have made this criticism about the Lion King over and over again, but I don't know why they didn't make it so much about the Jungle Book when the problem's right here. It's a problem for this movie right here, and people didn't seem to mind. And maybe they didn't mind as much because the movie at least has a little bit more going for it than what if you were watching that really good movie but worse. The animals don't really emote, and they, the aesthetic palette that they sort of allotted themselves doesn't let them make enough stylistic adjustments to do anything about it. You've handcuffed yourself. And I don't understand, or maybe I do understand, because, and I'll say it now and then I'll repeat it when we get to The Lion King. A lot of this just feels like an excuse to have animators remake an animated movie, but under the pretense of live action filmmaking, and all to go without paying animators who actually have a union behind them. Because it's really telling when you see some of this stuff where it's like, they remade The Lion King, they called it a live action movie. It wasn't. There was no there's one live action shot in the entire movie. And it was entirely animated by animators, but they were working at visual effects vendors instead of the animation studio. It happened here. It happened with Lion King. And so, it's just, like, I'll go back over this. I'll come back to this when we get to Lion King. But it just feels like America hates animation. America hates animation, even though every other movie that they see now is animated to an extended capacity. And I'm exhausted by it. It's all just a fucking excuse. And, part of that does extend to the actual, aesthetics of this movie, where there isn't, in my opinion, a real meaningful reason for the quote realistic aesthetic, for like a grounded aesthetic. It only makes things more jarring when Mowgli's like jumping around and getting flung around by monkeys, and Christopher Walken shows up, and it all just feels really uncanny because of that. Because it's like, if you allowed yourself a space that was more stylistically heightened, you would have something that didn't feel just really strange to look at. It feels strange now. It's gonna feel actively bad pretty soon. Just leave me alone. Just stop trying to. Why are we treating movies and games the same way, where fidelity is like the key thing? I don't get it. I don't know what's happening anymore.
Because people are morons. I the moments I enjoyed most in this movie were ones that were the most stylistic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, there's this like beautiful shot near the beginning where it shows like the water draining out of the river over like several
Yes,
seasons,
yes,
but it's like a time
yes.
lapse. That's a beautiful shot. Um, there's this morphing shot where Ka's eye turns into
It turned into a cave.
a cave in a cliff, and that's the best shot of the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah. Like there's
And
it shifts, like it's like this entire sequence where Ka's eye becomes a cave, and then the cave becomes a forest on fire, and the silhouettes of the animals are running through the burning forest, and it's like, shit, I didn't know you had that in you. Keep doing that. That's
yeah,
my favorite bit in the movie. Also, I will.
if it was
Mhm.
less married to its realism, it would benefit a
Yeah,
lot.
and yeah. Also, I do want to say they did manage to somehow make Ka's eyes do the hypnosis thing under this aesthetic rubric, and I'm impressed by that genuinely. Because I thought they weren't gonna do it, and we were ready to
Yes.
complain about that, and they ended up doing it. So, Ka's eyes do the
Yeah,
color
I was
changing.
ready to whine.
Yeah, um, it's neat. There's neat stuff in it. I like Mowgli being a crafty guy. I like those sequences of stylization, and I know sequences like that rely on sort of where they exist in relativity to the baseline aesthetic palette. But also, Speed Racer is a movie that's doing that constantly, and the whole movie is pitched really high concept aesthetically. So, if they could do that, you could get away with having, specific sequences stick out in relation to an already heightened aesthetic palette. You can do it.
Roxy, if you go into Hollywood and you tell the producers, I want this movie to look like Wachowski's Speed Racer, they'll shoot you in the head.
The people didn't get it. The people didn't get it. Don't you understand? The future rests with trans people. That's the future of cinema. They don't get it, but we do.
Never again.
No, there has to be a future.
Are there likable characters in this movie? I thought
No.
everyone was kind of annoying. I thought that early, like, oh, Mowgli is kind of annoying in this. He's kind of a little shit.
Yeah.
And then I thought, wow, Bagheera is really overbearing and really
He's, he's,
annoying. And
he's
then
a
I'm
real
like,
asshole.
wait a minute. Every character in this is annoying.
I don't think the Lupita Nyong'o wolf is a shit. She's just kind of bland.
Yeah, but she's in like 3 minutes of the movie.
I think it really sucks too because I do think that one of the, I wouldn't call it a strength of the original movie, but I'd say it's worth something that Bagheera in the 67 movie does actually care deeply for Mowgli. Like
Yeah.
it counts for something. It counts for a lot of what the movie, um whatever dramatic drive there is to the 67 movie, a lot of it is found in Bagheera really just wants Mowgli to be safe. And I
Mhm.
think it is a bewildering decision to remove any of his warmth. And, I think there was a lot of potential. And, like, I don't want to do that thing of, basically, like, rewriting the movie. I just want to take stock of what is already here. But I think it is a missed opportunity on some capacity to improve on the material of the 67 movie by exploring the disparities between Bagheera and Baloo and having two different ways of loving and caring for one person and trying to find the point between that is best for the person that you love. I think there was a lot of potential for that specific idea that is sort of suggested at and then seemingly almost kind of tossed aside at the very end of the 67 movie when he decides, "Oh, girl, I'm going now." You know, girl, which to be fair, girls are cool, but I don't think you should rest the finale of your movie about, these two guys trying to parent this child on. I think it's kind of silly to do that. And, I think there was a real opportunity to explore the idea of, loving someone, but also trying to figure out what is best for them in that moment. And they just kind of don't do that because Bagheera and Baloo are just kind of both assholes. And they're no longer gay. To be clear, I don't think this is Disney being reactionary in advance. They weren't quite like with regards to gay people. I don't think they were doing that quite yet. I think genuinely the decisions were just made that are baffling, and they don't leave room for the way I read Bagheera and Baloo, which is that they're gay. They're just two parents, and they're not really parents in this movie. There's
Disney's first openly gay bear.
Oh my god. I can think of, there is Lupita Nyong'o, wolf lady, who is kind of a mom to him, but also the wolf leader of the pack, played by Giancarlo Esposito, is just kind of stern. Like, the male characters in particular just kind of suck. But I can say this about regarding said leader of the wolf pack. He is such a non-character for the most part, right? Like, he's so, like, his whole thing is just sort of noble, and that only makes it funnier when Shere Khan takes him into his mouth and flings him a mile away like he's the goddamn Hulk.
I was about to say that I do not like Giancarlo's Akela, but he does lead to my favorite scene in any of these movies. A scene that was so beautiful that we had to pause the movie because we were laughing so much, and then rewind to watch it again.
Look,
I want so beautiful because it's unexpected. He's just kind of talking to him calmly, and then boom, throws him so far. Let's be clear, he throws him like 10 feet upwards, 50 feet horizontally off of a cliff, and you never see him again. He dies there. You don't even you just see him yeeted off.
Nobody has ever been yeeted so hard in any capacity. It was fucking crazy. It was like I gotta tell you, like, I'm telling you specifically, the next morning, I was talking with my mom before she went to work. She goes, "I heard you laughing really hard last night from across the house." And I was like, oh god. Because it was just that fucking funny. I lost my mind. The entire scene, and like, it's not meant to be comedic, but it's timed in a way.
It's directed to be like shocking. We were supposed to be like, oh my god, shit. I can't believe he just did that. But we couldn't stop laughing.
we did have we couldn't believe he just did that moment in a completely different way than was intended. We were just like, what the fuck did he just do? Why did you? You didn't have to do all that. He flung him so far. It was like, and he does it again later in the movie. He takes a wolf and just flings him to the side like 20 feet. And it's like, okay, you're not a normal tiger. This is insanity. You are
That
some
doesn't
kind of
sound
Hulk.
right, but I don't know enough about tigers to object to it.
It genuinely, that was like the most outright joy I had watching the movie. You know, I think a lot of movies are like that. A lot of movies are just fine, and then they'll come out of nowhere with a beat or a moment that is genuinely fucking unhinged, and then go right back to normal. It's like that one Tex Avery gag where you have the bulldog warden in the jail, and he'll just be really stern, and then he'll start laughing really suddenly, and then go back to being stern instantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. I think a lot of movies are like that, and this was this movie's moment like that. I genuinely a wonderful moment.
It was the best part of the movie. Unfortunately, it was the best part.
I felt insane, and I think that's a good thing to feel when a movie's baseline is just kind of boring. What else is there to say? Is the thing?
Well, I we wanted to talk about like the plot structure of this. I
Yeah,
think this is structured very well. I think it
yeah,
changes the original. Like we talked about the original, how I talked about how it was kind of like fighting between being a series of vignettes and being an actual narrative. And I think this one does do that thing I wanted, where it leans more into one of them, which is the narrative. And so it does feel like you're turning this story into an actual story.
yeah.
Um,
It does a
it does
lot.
have some
Yeah,
weird consequences. Like all the King Louis monkey stuff now feels like way more random. Feels way more like, why are we doing this? Which is a shame because it's probably the funnest section of the movie,
yeah.
but it does feel kind of like
I don't
pointless.
know why we're here. Like I know, and it's like it's funny because the way Mowgli gets to that point has not actually meaningfully changed.
No.
The monkeys grab him and they take him, and that's it. Like, there isn't really any more or less of a lead in to that. But, a lot of the other changes surrounding it make it feel like we're not entirely sure why we're here or why this is happening. I do also think that the monkey scene is a testament to the fact that Christopher Walken is good at infusing tension into very silly situations, even. He can say absurd things with a straight face very often. And so he just kind of, I don't know, you do just kind of roll with it. You don't think about it too much in the moment, but it does feel really random and odd and out of place in some ways because of the surrounding changes. It's a lot less episodic. It does feel like they ironed out a lot. Like, it feels like they got the plotting to a pretty good shine, but then didn't know how to tell that story. Like, they didn't know how to build the characters to in a way that filled that structure. You know, hell, I could say it as much for Mowgli, because Mowgli's like the most I can say about Mowgli is his personality feels like he's a kid and he builds things. You're gonna build a movie around like under the pretense of there being more story, I guess, but then you're not gonna fill out the characters enough to meaningfully facilitate that to the point that it feels like the characters are just as thin as they were in the prior movie in the
Mm-hmm.
in the 67 movie, and it feels worse because of that. I do think this movie needed a lot more in terms of navigating the interiority of some of the characters, specifically Mowgli. I think Mowgli needed more character.
Um, One example I think of is, near the end, Mowgli accidentally like burns down the jungle, right?
Yeah,
And this is supposed to be like a terrible, terrible thing. But I watched it and I just don't really feel anything. I know it's supposed to have a lot of weight, but it doesn't feel like that. And I think one of the reasons is because I don't really care about the animals in the jungle because they
yeah.
aren't really characters.
And it's so funny because for some reason the jungle doesn't feel very populated, you know?
No,
It
not at
doesn't
all.
feel like a living thing, which is very important for your jungle. It's called the Jungle Book.
Yes.
I don't know. I know there's a lot of approaches to making a space feel lived in, right? Either there's, aesthetic stuff that you can do, the way in which you decorate spaces, or little stories that, I'm going to do another one of those polls. I think about Y tu mamá también, or Children of Men, where I think about how many stories are happening in the periphery of the primary story. And I
Hmm.
think that that's something that this movie could have used a little more of, is that kind of, the idea of a lot of, I don't know, just little indications that the world is happening outside of the protagonist's view.
Yeah.
Just something, and I know, like, I don't know, because the jungle feels very empty in this movie. It doesn't feel alive, and it doesn't feel like, I don't know. I think depending on the movie, you want a sense that, you know, if I turn the camera a little bit, am I going to see something? Like, am I going to see anything more happening beyond what I'm immediately focusing on? And I've always loved that feeling.
Hmm.
I've always loved the feeling that if I look somewhere else in this space, will I see another story that's not being told? Because when you go through your day to day, you're going to see a little bit of someone else's story. And you're not going to get the full picture, but you know that something's going on with someone else. And I just kind of would appreciate a little more of that in the Jungle Book. And I don't think it would, I think with a little more restructuring, I don't think it would cost any more to do so. I think about the scene with the it was like a stampede, right, in the rain.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sure what this does in favor of more scenes that sort of fill out the jungle as a living space rather than just a space where precarious things happen to a central body, that central body being Mowgli. Like, Mowgli is just kind of a body that stuff happens to a lot in this movie. And, either people are telling him to do things, he's kind of responding. Like, either characters or the world are telling him to do things, or things are happening to him. Like, he's just kind of a very passive character in some capacity. Even when he's not being passive, he feels passive. And I know that a passive character is not the worst thing to have. Absolutely not. Because I've watched and I've partaken in art with very passive characters, and that can be okay as long as you have other things that surround them and make the world that they're in feel lived in, and make the people that surround them feel like they have, like, feel active. You can do that. It's not a fundamentally bad thing to have a passive protagonist, but the problem is everyone is kind of a little passive. So that's one other reason
Yeah.
why the jungle doesn't feel very lived in, because every animal in it and every character in it feels like things just sort of happen to them, and they are sort of at the will of a faceless god that is the jungle. Not to get very dramatic about it, but it feels like, it's sort of funny that for a work that is very driven by the sensible anthropomorphization of various beings, none of them feel much more like meaningfully like present in the world, I guess. And I think that sucks because I think there was a lot of like a lot of what I think about with this movie specifically, more than the 67 movie, because the 67 movie is just something I'm just kind of like, I don't think this is my thing, right? But with this movie, I start thinking, um, there's a lot of potential here with the way that they've structured the actual plot, and then they do nothing because the movie just sort of starts to feel like all plot, you know, and I don't know, you could do a little more. Fill it out. Stylize it a little, zhuzh it up, something. It's like it just feels very bland is my thing. It just feels very bland as a
Yeah.
result of all of this.
You ever seen Nashville, Robert Altman?
I have not seen it in Nashville yet, no. But feel free to talk about it.
Yeah, great Joan Tewksbury script where it really does feel like if you turn the camera 90 degrees, there's an entirely different movie happening.
Mm-hmm,
You know, and that does a very good job of having all these disparate stories and characters which really don't cross over that much until the very end.
Right, right.
And how they all feel like it's when you get so many characters, whether or not they're passive or active, because I think there's a mix in Nashville, all together,
Mm-hmm.
it paints that picture of the city of Nashville without you really having to do anything other than show the characters, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you know here if you showed enough of the hearts and the personalities of the people in the jungle, that does everything for you. That tells you
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
you need to know about the culture and the atmosphere and all of that. And I do think it's a shame that, you know, most of the characters here don't really have any depth,
I
and it's yeah, it brings down the movie.
like by a large sum. Like I was listening to Brennan Lee Mulligan talking about just, you know, people in general, and he said something about what a normal person is, a quote normal person is. He said, on average, the quote median person is the weirdest fucking person you've ever met. You know,
Yes.
like when you think of a quote normal person, you know, a lot of the time those people who insist upon their own normality are like, it's not that they're hiding necessarily anything, but it, you know, there's a part of them that they're either consciously or unconsciously not broadcasting about themselves. You know, when
Mhm.
you like, this movie kind of reminds me of something that you've said a couple times, where you've said don't just do the default, you know, come up with something, you know, do, you know, like you have to come here with ideas, you know. And
Yeah.
I don't think it would meaningfully inflate the budget or anything of that nature to make the characters more specific. I don't know anything about Aquila as played by Giancarlo Esposito. I just know he has Giancarlo Esposito's voice and that he gets yeeted off a
Yes.
cliff really hard. He
Yes, and he
doesn't
gets turned into, you know, raspberry jam.
he's not a guy, you know. He doesn't have specifics, you know. His entire character is leader of the wolf pack, and his wife is the mom to Mowgli, and Bagheera is the stern mentor. And it all feels sort of like the characters are shaped for parable, but plotting is shaped for an odyssey of sorts. And those things aren't mixing. Like, it's not like one of these is a story about change and about growth and about learning who you are. You know, it's the coming of age and everything. And you know, it's not the single point of coming of age. It's not that parables aren't shaped like that, because they are very often, but it feels like the ways in which the beats are structured, like it feels like David Byrne Giant Suit a little bit, you know. Like, it's not
Yeah.
shaped for this. It's not shaped for, like, the simplicity of the character building is not shaped for the structure of plotting that they've chosen to take the material on. And it doesn't feel, as a result, it just feels like a lot of empty space in there, and it makes the movie feel really hollow. that just that's just a disappointment whenever I see it in a lot of movies, you know? So, like, I don't know. I feel like, oh, you almost had something really good here, but you didn't fill it out. It makes me sad in a different way from the 67 movie, because I mentioned it made me sad. But this one makes me sad because I can see where they were really trying to put consideration into where the plot elements were going and what order they came in and how they were shaped, but then failed to consider character in a meaningful way. I don't think like this, right? But I knew a guy who, like, he told me you gotta build the house before you put the furniture in it, with regard to writing. And I don't really agree with him in a lot of cases, but where it concerns a story shaped like this, like, it feels like they built the house and forgot to put any furniture in it. Like, it's a really well designed and constructed house. It's sturdy, it doesn't fall apart, but there's no furniture in it and there's no anything in there. It's an empty house.
It sucks. If they have the millennial beige aesthetic inside.
Yeah, exactly. I can see, I think this is one of the worst feelings when you can see the good thing that a work could be, but it just falls short. That just sucks. And like, it's not even like me, like, I'm trying to keep any lack of fondness I have for Favreau out of the picture. I genuinely am. I'm trying to keep things on an even keel and be like, no, I just think these are the ways the thing didn't work. And I think the specifics of the script needed more hashing out. You gotta think about what is filling your story. You gotta think about what is occupying, like, who is occupying the story when you're making a narrative film. I've seen like 3-hour movies where I learn nothing about characters, and I've seen 15-minute movies where I learn the world about characters. It's not even a matter of time, it's just economy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a lot of how I feel about what doesn't work most of all, about at the heart of this movie.
Yeah. One more thing I want to talk about, I want to brush on briefly.
Yes.
Which is the music. They do Bare Necessities, and they do I Want to Be Like You.
Yeah.
And
they do integrate.
I hated both of them.
Can I ask why you hated both of them?
I don't think Bill Murray can sing, and I don't think Christopher Walken can sing. And I think they're both very forced in. They don't feel very natural, especially
not at all.
The latter, I Want to Be Like You. They have to change the lyrics of I Want to Be Like You so that it actually makes sense what he's saying.
Yeah, right? It makes sense with the characterization and the plot beat that we're at, because it literally wouldn't make sense otherwise.
I think I didn't expect to say this, but I think I would rather just not have the songs.
Yeah. They even, like, interpolate a little bit of Trust in Me into the scene with Ka. It's barely noticeable, so I guess it's fine, but, like, otherwise it probably would have been best to just kind of keep that. It almost, like you said with Jungle Book 2, it almost feels kind of like a mandate. Like, they said, okay, but you gotta get those songs in there because everybody remembers those songs. It's not really working. That said, like, I am tickled by Christopher Walken singing I Want to Be Like You. But
it's funny, but it's not a good song.
That's how I feel about it. It's just like, look, I enjoyed that. Did it work? No. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was, but what it was probably wasn't a very good idea.
Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Honestly, I think Jungle Book's just kind of boring as a whole.
Yeah. I don't think it's very interesting.
And I'm honestly glad to be done with this one specifically, because I wasn't.
How would you rank?
Oh, the
Jungle Book
ranking.
trilogy.
Ranking. Where would I put it? I can't remember what our ranking was.
No, first we gotta rank the 3 movies we covered today.
Oh, the 3 movies we covered today. Oh, damn. I guess it's remake, then the 67 movie, then the Jungle Book 2, because that movie's not good.
I'd say 67 number 1, then the
Mm,
remake, then Jungle Book 2.
that's fair. That's more than fair. I think the remake, I think I'm a little less bored by it. To be fair, like, I want to be clear, like, those two are neck and neck for me in terms of, like, my appreciation of them, which is just kind of, it's there. So it's not like I
Yeah,
have
I
like
went back and forth
Mhm.
on it a bit,
Yeah.
but I think I prefer the original. It's just funner, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It also has the optically printed waterfall, which is funny.
Does. Oh,
We didn't even mention that. There's a real waterfall that is composited into a shot in the original Jungle Book, and it's very charming.
yes.
I think that's the thing about that movie is it's very scrappy in a way that's charming,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that about it, and that's something that you kind of lose when you're throwing like $200 million at a very shiny thing.
I also think the soundtrack of the original is a big point for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. As for the overall ranking so far, for of the remakes, I want to say now, after some thought, and this is probably going to switch around again, I do think Cinderella probably goes at the top now. As much as fond as I am of Maleficent, it is probably the most holistically comprehensive work out of the ones that we've seen. Like, it is a movie that you can watch, and it's its own movie, and it actually likes the material that it's based on, both the original Disney movie and the fairy tale that it adapted. It's the most aesthetically cohesive of all of them, certainly, because boy, things get ropey even in the good ones. So I think it's Cinderella, Maleficent, Alice in Wonderland, The Jungle Book. I think that's my ordering.
I feel the same. I feel the
okay.
exact same.
Okay.
I went back and forth on Alice and the Jungle Book for a while because, like, in a lot of ways, the Jungle Book is a better movie, right?
Yeah.
It's coherent. It's probably not as ugly. It
No.
doesn't have the Mad Hatter in it. But I think what changed it for me is I sat down and said, which would I rather rewatch?
Yeah.
And the answer is Alice.
I
I would rather watch Alice again than this.
I feel exactly the same, because, like, it's funny. Like, I think it's also funny because that's the one we both have nostalgia for. So
That is true.
That's also a factor here. Like we both have a connection to that movie in some capacity for all of its issues. It's like, okay, well, this is still a singular movie, even if it's not a coherent one quite. Like, I know Jungle Book is technically more coherent in a lot of ways, and Alice in Wonderland is just kind of waddling down the lane a little bit. I'll take it. I don't know how much this is going to change going forward, like in terms of, like, the top ones, but, I do like Pete's Dragon a lot. I'm interested in seeing how we navigate the second Alice movie with the absence of Johnny, not Johnny Depp, Tim Burton, because he did not direct that movie. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for now.
Yes, it does.
Other than read Akira.
Oh yeah, read Akira.
Read Akira, and also read Watchmen, because I'm reading.
You've already read Watchmen.
That's what you said about me, and I hadn't read Watchmen. Don't assume, because you assume that of me. It's like, no, I've never read Watchmen. And
everyone's already read Watchmen.
I never did. I was on the outs with that one. And thank you for listening. I've been Roxana.
I've been Nikki.
And thank you for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode on Alice Through the Looking Glass. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.